The most basic unit of life is the cell. Humans, animals, plants, bacteria, they're all made of what we call cells. And cells contain distinct parts called organelles, and each organelle has a specific function. The main part of the cell is an organelle called the nucleus, which you can see right here. The nucleus is usually called the brain of the cell. And this is because the nucleus is where DNA, essential genetic information, is stored. The nucleus is also where DNA is copied and replicated. The mitochondria, right here, is what people usually call the powerhouse of the cell. And this is because the mitochondria is where glucose is converted to energy-rich molecules called ATP. This conversion allows the cell to have the energy to perform very important functions for the cell, and it lets the cell survive. Lysosomes, which we see right here, are kind of like the trash cans of the cell. Lysosomes contain what we call enzymes, and these enzymes help break down molecules. This lets the cell get rid of material that it doesn't want and helps break down the cell when it dies. Over here, we have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and this is where lipids are made. These lipids then can attach to a phosphate group to form what we call the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is like a barrier for the cell. It helps separate what's inside the cell versus what's outside the cell. Then the rough ER right here, it kind of looks like the smooth ER, but it has red dots. The rough ER contains what we call ribosomes, these red dots. And these ribosomes allow for proteins to be created. And then all of the organelles are in what we call cytosol, and that makes up the cytoplasm. Now, animal and plant cells are very similar, but plant cells have what we call chloroplasts. And the reason that plants need chloroplasts and we don't is because we eat food, right? Plants, however, they don't eat, they don't have mouths. So in order to get energy, they have to get it from the sun, and the chloroplast allows them to do so. So we call the process where plants use the sun's energy to make food or carbohydrates like we do, photosynthesis, which you can see over here. So in photosynthesis, plants take carbon dioxide and water and they combine it with light, and this allows them to make the carbohydrate glucose and then also oxygen. And this glucose is what they're going to use to break down into our energy-rich ATP molecules. So if we look at the entire process for a cell, right, in the chloroplast, we have pigments called chlorophyll, and the light energy is going to hit the chloroplast, and it's going to allow photosynthesis to take place. Then the plant is able to have glucose, and they're able to break that down in a process called cellular respiration. So both us and plants use cellular respiration. The difference is that plants have to do this step right before in order to get there. So in cellular respiration, we have our glucose and our oxygen, and we convert that, and plants convert that into carbon dioxide, water, and the ATP molecules that give us energy. And again, this all happens in the mitochondria. And just notice how the products of photosynthesis, what you get, which is your glucose and oxygen, are also what you put into cellular respiration in order to get the energy. So in order for protein to be created, first, the DNA needs to be what we call transcribed or copied. So the DNA is copied into mRNA. And the mRNA basically occurs because it will let DNA be more easily read. So once DNA is converted to mRNA, then it goes through a process we call translation. And in translation, the ribosome, which we said was in the rough ER, basically reads that piece of mRNA and it uses the information in that mRNA to make proteins.